Hello everyone. All of these tools here are common network termination tools. We have extra network cable that is not terminated. Here's a crimping tool and some RJ45 connectors that we can use to terminate our network cable. We have a couple of steps in order to successfully build a custom length network cable. First step is to commonly measure the length of the cable you're going to need. This is a great reason for making our own cables because we like to pick a custom length and not have to buy a pre-made cable with a pre-picked length. Now that we have our measured length of cable, we can use the cutting blade on our crimping tool to cut our cable. Got the cutting blade right here. I put the cable in and I'd be able to cut it if needed. We can use the cable stripper to strip the outer housing off the network cable. We're going to place the cable in this groove right here on our cable stripper. And we can go rather far on this cable without a problem. Just take that into account when you're talking about length. I can press and hold the cable stripper down on the cable, and I'll just twist it, and this is going to cut through that outer sheath. And this is going to allow us to pull that outer housing off of the network cable. And you can see that right here, how it's coming off. After removing the outer sheath, you'll find 4 pairs of wires. We'll have to untwist the 4 pairs and organize them into 8 individual copper wires. When you're separating those 4 pairs from each other, what I find in the middle of mine is this plastic separator. This is common in our Cat 6 wires like this one, which allows it to prevent interference and crosstalk between our pairs. What we're going to do right now is cut this plastic separator off because it's going to be in the way when we try to put our RJ45 connector on. So I can take my cutting tool and just cut that plastic separator off. It does a great job inside of the cable, but it's in the way for the RJ45 connector. Also, what we'll find in my cable is the string. And these are meant to be pull strings that allow you to pull on the sheath and be able to slice through the sheath. That's also going to be in the way for me, so I'm going to cut that off because we don't need it at this time. So, this is where we now want to untwist all the wires, and this is going to take us some time to do. What we're going to find is that each pair of wires, well, they're going to be having a different number of twists per inch, and you'll be able to see that. For example, the one that's going to be the hardest to untwist is going to be blue, white, blue. That has more twists per inch, for example, than looking at brown, white, brown. Those more twists per inch for each pair is going to allow us to have less crosstalk and interference between those pairs. They thought of everything, didn't they? So I'll continue to untwist and we'll come back. Now that my 8 individual wires are untwisted, what we want to do is pull them all so they're really straight. The straighter you can make them, the easier it's going to be to organize the wires in the correct color code, as well as the easier it will be to crimp them with the RJ45 connector. Now, I'm not worrying right now too much about color code organization. I just want to get them as straight as possible. What some people like to do is if you can gather all of them at the end of the wires with your fingers, and you can actually pull it straight and wiggle back and forth, and you get straighter wires. Now what I'd like to do is organize them in the correct color code. There's different standards, 568A or 568B. I'm going to follow the T568B standard and put these wires in the correct order. That order is going to be orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, white, brown. And to do that, I'm just going to take the orange, white and put it all the way to the side, followed by orange. Then I'll follow that one correctly with the green, white, and bring that one over. And then follow it with the next color. I'll do that and we'll come back. Once you have them in the correct color order, such as we see here, we'd like to take one of our RJ45 connectors and we'd slide it on. Now the current problem is that connector is not going to fit well. The wires are too long. We want this sheath to be about here in the connector, so when we crimp, this connector is going to hold onto that sheath, not onto the wires. So what I need to do is take my tool, which I can take either a pair of snips or a cutting tool like this, and I need to cut these shorter. So I'll go ahead and I'm just going to give it a snip. Make sure you use a tool that's sharp. You want a nice even cut as much as possible. Now that these wires are cut, we can verify that they're still in the correct order, and we can take an RJ45 connector and we're going to slide this on just like so. And we'll push those in tight. We can watch those wires go into the RJ45 connector. Push far enough and we should see that plastic sheath go in as well. Awesome. We can check the front of the RJ45 connector and see all those color codes coming in beautifully. Now we'll take our crimper and we'll slide our cable into the crimper. It's all the way in. We'll give it a tight squeeze and now it's crimped on. We can see it holding on to the plastic sheath and our 8 copper wires are all the way in. Since now the connector is attached to the 8 wires in the outer housing, before we deploy this, we should verify the quality of the cable. You would take something like this, which is a cable tester, plug it in on both sides, turn it on, and we'll be able to watch it go. Checking the quality of our cable, and we should see all 8 wires come up as successful. We'll see 8 lines. And we did it. All 8 lines came up, letting us know the quality of our cable is perfect. You're able to see that right here. And it tells us it's a 3-foot cable. So hopefully you have a 3-foot purpose. Grab some tools and get started crafting your own custom length network cable.